Welcome, love, to Wild Flow, the podcast for wild and wise women devoted to honoring your body's wisdom, reclaiming your cyclical power, and walking as a feminine leader in life, love, and through your soul work and purpose. I'm Charlotte Puanto, embodiment coach, ritual priestess, menstrual cycle educator, and feminine business mentor, here to guide soul-led women to step forward as their most magical, womb-awakened, authentic, and sovereign selves. On the podcast, we have rich and deep conversations with women I deeply admire who are leading the way in the reclamation of sacred feminine power. Ready for a new episode, my love? Let's flow. There are moments in a woman's life that change her identity. Bleeding for the first time, becoming a mother, turning 40, leaving a marriage, launching something that truly matters, the soul purpose, and knowing when to let something go. Most of us move through these thresholds quietly. We adapt and cope and move on, but we don't mark them. And I've been sitting with this deeply since recording the episode about turning 40 and about Snake. And I've been thinking about choosing to ritualize that threshold instead of letting it blur into just another birthday. Because what I've come to understand more clearly than ever is this. Without ritual, transition feels destabilizing. But with ritual, transition becomes initiation. What ritual actually is, it's not aesthetic spirituality. It's not about incense or a pumping playlist, although it can be. Ritual is about intentional presence brought to a moment of significant change. It's the conscious marking of the before and the after. It's the way that ritual tells your nervous system something has shifted. It tells your body, you're allowed to become this. And it tells your psyche, you are no longer who you were. And without that marking, we just slide between identities. But when we ritualize it, we cross it, we stand in it. And how we cross changes how we see ourselves, how we claim, how we embody that shift. There are the big rites of passage: Menarche, our first bleed; marriage, our birth, but giving birth to; death, our crowning, a major birthday; and descent cycles. There's so many more too, but for women, these can be the biggest. But ritual is also, it's not just in the big rites, it's in the small places. Ritual can be the way I make my morning cacao. Every day, it's tradition, but it's ritual. I'm not just drinking it. I'm pausing before the first sip. I'm creating it with care. I'm breathing it and smelling it. I'm feeling the way that the warmth and the taste washes over my tongue and warms my belly. I feel my feet on the floor. And I take a breath away to start my day. The way I set the intention, the way that I feel this medicine entering my body. And I'm not just racing. It's ritual. It's the way we sit down to Sunday dinner as a family. It's the way at the end of the day, we consciously shift from work mode to mother mode. It's the way we say cheers and look at each other before a toast. We're not just racing through the moments. We're bringing reverence, sanctity, presence to the moment, actually acknowledging it. It might be the way that you even find yourself pausing between work and home. If you commute, if you drive, it can be that moment in the car where you just take that intentional breath the way that you feel like you're taking one hat off and putting another on. It can be your bath, not just self-care, not just getting clean, but the way that you light a candle, pour oil in, maybe add petals. It might be the way that you go to bed at night, the way that you have a wash, the special place that you put your jewelry, the way that you apply your face cream. Maybe you're having a cup of tea. It's the way that you take a single breath before responding instead of just reacting. They can be the micro rites. They don't require a temple. They require presence, and this presence changes identity. So many women right now are trying to grow businesses, to grow impact, to grow income, to grow capacity, to grow purpose in the world. But they feel like imposters. And I find this really interesting. It's not because they're not capable. It's because they haven't really felt that they have claimed that becoming. It's not been ritualized. It's not been honored as a rite of passage, which has structure. First, the separation from the old identity, then the challenge, the training ground that tests you, that proves that you're capable. And then it's the integration, which often comes with a public acknowledgement of the new identity, but not always. This can be an internal, private moment too. So it's the separation, the challenge, and the return. Without those stages, growth feels chaotic. Think of our children, think of our girls. When they have their first period, is it something they're keeping to themselves and they're moving through just not understanding that this is more than a body shift that they can sense but not understand? It's a whole identity shift. It's a threshold moment from childhood into adolescence, not yet in womanhood. It's the way that boys really don't have rites of passage as honored at all. And so they go and create their own. And that can get pretty wild and pretty dangerous at times. It's the way that girls grow and feel like they have to prove and look for external validation, whether that's from boys or some other way. When it is not honored, it is chaotic. It feels untethered, unheld, lost. But with these stages, growth feels held and earned. Ritual is what marks the separation. It's what says, I'm leaving this version of myself. It's what says, I've crossed. And so when you don't honor, ritualize, mark that crossing, you feel like you're pretending. You feel like you've not earned it. When you do, you get to embody it. You just do. And this is why I care so deeply about girls. Because when a girl bleeds for the first time and there is no rite, she doesn't have that preparation, that training ground. She's not being guided and prepared about what's happening. Then she's trying to figure it out. And then there's this lack of integration. She knows that her body has changed. She feels like the world is changing and she's changing, but she feels like nobody's witnessed or recognized it. She knows she's not a child anymore. And the people around her don't know how to treat her either. Maybe they baby her, or maybe she gets treated like she's a grown-up, an adult already. And so she doesn't internalize power. She internalizes shame, the inconvenience, the distrust, the just get on with it. So that's why with First Moon Circles and my Menarche facilitator training school, we're really honoring that threshold. We hold First Moon Circles in communities, the facilitators that are trained up around the world, to actually hold these spaces. And whilst we're sharing empowering information, holistic information, and making sure that training ground and preparation ground piece is held, we're also honoring this as a rite of passage. These circles are intentionally crafted as a rite of passage, even though the girls are coming probably mostly not yet having had their period. We are preparing them to treat this and honor this as a rite of passage. And we're saying, hey, I see you. You're not alone. We're marking this threshold. We're separating her from the early childhood phases, not with any grabbing her and dragging her through. We are just putting a mark on a page, a line in the sand saying, hey, we know where you're at. So we're preparing her, teaching her, training her, witnessing her. We're acknowledging her as someone who is stepping across this invisible line and saying that we're here to support her and guide her. This changes not just the girl who crosses the threshold, not just the girl who has her first period. This changes decades. It changes the whole life trajectory, because a girl who was ritualized and witnessed and held by her mother, by a community, by a circle of friends, as this moment is ritualized, as she comes deeper into her body, she doesn't grow into a woman who then has to reclaim her sovereignty from scratch. She trusts herself always. She leads herself earlier. She doesn't spend years disconnected and then having to heal from something and reconnect to her inner voice, her inner knowing, her intuition, her sovereignty, her boundaries. So this is why rites of passage have been forever created and held by humans. It's a cultural architecture to ensure the smooth transition and passage from one identity, one life phase to the next. This is what creates healthy communities. And it is so important for us now, having lost these rites of passages because of cultural shame, because rites have been taken to be either turning 18 and, a child becomes an adult and gets drunk, or saying it's about learning to drive, learning to vote, leaving home. Yes, these are all important too. They've also been created to be religious rites of passages. So whilst we do acknowledge rites of passages, it's these earlier ones and these ones that are often so invisible. These are the ones that make the biggest difference when they're honored or dishonored. There's also the rites that happen later, also invisible rites of descent. And this is something that I really hold the wisdom of and guide women through. I really resonate with the myth of the goddess Inanna, the Sumerian goddess. She's an ancient goddess, one of the earlier goddesses that we have. And she provides the template for the Greek goddesses and for later goddesses, and this story, this cycle of life, death, and rebirth. And so this original myth is such a potent one for me. Inanna is the queen of heaven and earth. She sits on her throne, adored. She is in her power. She has a son and heir. She is married. She has everything she could possibly want. And yet, she knows, she hears the call from the great below. And she knows she has absolutely no choice but to walk the path, the descent into the underworld, to die and to be reborn. She doesn't need to go, but she inherently understands this rite of passage of descent. She goes to meet the exiled feminine, the dark feminine, her sister, who is in mourning and grief, who is queen of the underworld, her sister who represents the parts of the feminine that have been forgotten, silenced, suppressed, held inside for fear of actually being seen because they've been told they are not welcome. They need to be quiet, be seen and not heard. Inanna represents all that is welcome, the ideal feminine, beauty, status, fertility, her power. She is the light feminine. She is the acceptable version. And she knows this is a journey of integration, integrating both hearts, told mythically. On this journey, she is told she must not challenge, question the ways of the underworld because they are perfect. And she simply has a choice. Does she surrender and keep treading the path? Or does she just go back to live unintegrated as this ideal feminine version who is adored and appreciated, but she is severed from her power because she's severed from her root. She's severed from the truth, the truths, the parts of her that she has had to cut away and bury within. She is sort of like the figurehead. She's the illusion. She is the version that everybody wants to put on a pedestal and worship, but it's not real. And she has this internal split. So this is a soul journey. And as she traverses the path from heaven to the underworld, she has to pass through 7 gates. At each gate, something is removed. A part of her protection, her status, as a power symbol, something that she wears at each of the 7 gates or energy centers or chakras of the body. She has to lay these down to make herself vulnerable, to reveal her truth. She is stripped and humbled and emptied. And when she finally drags herself over the final threshold to the void, to the underworld, her sister, Ereshkigal, kills her. She hangs her on the hook to rot in her grief, in her fury, because this fury is what happens. This wounded feminine is what happens when she is banished and exiled, when she's not held and heard and soothed and integrated. She lashes out in anger, in rage. But she goes on this journey, and as Inanna dies, as she opens herself up to integration, she has this opportunity for rebirth, and it comes at a cost. But this cost is the willingness to rise whole, to call forward, to heal, to become whole. And so she's reborn. And as she rises, she has to make choices and decisions. And you could go and read this mythic story. It's incredibly powerful. It is a story of recognizing, of tending, of loving, of midwifing herself through this dark night of the soul. And through this ritual return, she rises and she takes her rightful place again on her throne. And she leads again. But she is not who she was before. She has integrated her power. She is the true embodied feminine, the light and the dark. She has made this mythic return into a mature version of herself, into an unwavering authority in right use of power, who is not here to please or perform. She steps forward in her truth, in her vulnerability, in her willingness. And this ritual return helps her to rise in her full eros, her life force, and to lead, to create heaven on earth, and to bring her people with her. And so when we have this intention, this ritual, this structure, this holding, descent doesn't feel like a failure. It becomes an initiation. When you mark a descent as sacred, you don't panic in the dark. You remember you are not lost. You don't try to push to get to the light already. You know that you are being shaped and that there is lesson in this. And you feel your way in the dark, step by step, hand by hand. And you know and trust that you will emerge when this soul work is done, when you have truly been tested, and when you are ready to integrate, embody, and rise. And so imposter syndrome shows up often as unmarked initiation. If you ever feel like a fraud, like you're not ready, like you question, oh, will people come? Can I do this? What does it mean to leave the pack, to leave belonging, to leave safety, to stop doing the things that you've always done that no longer feel true for you? When it is time to lead as the woman who goes first, we have to separate from the pack. We have to go through our trial grounds and rise. And then we have to allow others to see us, to witness us, and to meet us there where we've been. So if you do ever question whether it is safe, whether you can, whether you have capacity, whether you're ready, whether this is yours, it is not because you cannot and you will not. It is because you've never consciously stepped across this threshold and ritually honored who you are becoming, who you have become. You never said, I'm not who I was, and I take my place now in this new version of myself. And so ritual can stabilize your leadership in whatever form that takes. And if you're a space holder, a coach, a guide, a leader, in any way at all, it's the ritual that helps you to integrate your identity in your personal life when you're going through deep challenges and initiations. It is the ritual of releasing and then the return, the claiming and the embodiment that helps you to integrate this and trust that you can walk this uncharted territory. You can make these life changes that you know in your bones you have to make. You have to stand on your own 2 feet. This is what helps you feel ready and capable. It turns your, shit, I hope I'm ready and I hope this works, into, I have crossed. I am here now. I'm not sure how, but I know I will find my way. So this is where it also becomes deeply practical, moving from the mythic realm, the spiritual terrain, into your work, your sacred work. Because ritual is not separate from how you work. It's not just something you do at the full moon, a little release ritual, or watching the moon rise, or giving thanks, which is all beautiful. It's how you begin your workday. It's how you close a launch. It's how you feel and know when to cut away and offer that is a program that you've been running that just isn't true anymore. It doesn't hold the fullness and the depth of your magic. It's how you recognize that your ideal client's actually shifted. It's moved along because you've moved along. It's how you create content and express and embody your full self instead of hiding. So without ritual, business can become reactive. And reactive is when you chase numbers or you wobble if you don't get instant verification, the instant likes on Instagram, or the instant sales in a launch. It's when you pivot, when you create something new, a cheaper offer because you've launched something that was one of your higher ticket offers. No one's bought it, and so you're anxious. It's when you launch, you dip your toes in the water and then you hide because you're afraid. When you do ritual in your business, it becomes intentional. You consciously mark the end of one season before beginning another. You consciously know when to close out a container instead of letting it become something that you just feel off about, but keep offering because it's been working. And it's the breath before setting your pricing and feeling in your body, dropping into your womb, into your heart, and feeling the resonance for the price that is right, the fair exchange for everything you're here to offer. So you're not building from panic. You're not looking outwards at what you think will sell. You're not copying the person in your field who you think is killing it just because she's got a big audience and shows up with confidence. You build from integrity, from alignment, the inside out way, where you really own your medicine. And then you create what is in true alignment, a full reflection of your power, your frequency, the work that you're here to hold and lead. This is the alignment. You're building, when you build without ritual, you are looking for external validation. It's these ripple effects that are still playing out. When you build with intention, with ritual, and anchored inwards, you are tuning in and you are transmitting, magnetizing from the inside out. So that's the difference between performance and sovereignty. It's the difference between adrenaline-based income. It's the difference between chaos. It's scarcity. It's push. It's that versus true embodied sacred feminine leadership. And so you don't need to wait for a threshold moment. It's the micro moments that you can mark today. It's what you're choosing here and now as you're listening. In your life, in your work, in your leadership, how are you honoring what it is you're moving through right now? So pause, breathe, feel your body, tune in, name the threshold that you're standing at right now. Drop down into your womb and your tailbone, your pelvic floor, your root. Where does the ground feel unsteady? Like you're not sure that you have the map that will guide you through this transition. Why are you not trusting that you will find your way? Where are you feeling like this is something you are experiencing within, but outwardly nobody would know? And so you're dealing with it alone, replaying the cycle, the pattern, maybe the pattern that you have lived all of your life, maybe since your first rites of passage. Can you feel what is being asked of you to step into the space where you're being tested and to stay the course? Can you feel where you don't need to push anymore, where you could soften, where you can integrate? Can you feel the training grounds that you're in? And then can you feel the way that whatever it is you're moving through, whether it's a micro moment of sending an email or creating a new program, whether you're mid-launch and you're feeling the wobble, and this has come at the right time to just hold you and anchor you in that cycle. Maybe there is a sacred no that you need to make in your life. And maybe there is a full embodied yes, something that you are being asked to claim and to name and to allow yourself to be witnessed publicly. Because this, whatever it is that you need to feel that you are able to really integrate, being the woman who says no, being the woman who claims what she wants, being the woman who leads without apology, being the woman who is not afraid to cut away to make space for the new to grow, being the woman who stops looking outside and scrambling to just get a yes from somewhere, to instead saying, I trust myself to hold this moment, to hold this tension, because I won't settle for less. Can you feel how recognizing yourself in this threshold can give your nervous system the holding and the recognition that you need to say, I am doing this consciously. I'm walking myself across this threshold. And maybe here is a way I'd like to ritualize, honor, or be witnessed in this. This is how embodiment happens. This is how we grow. This is how we leave behind one identity and step into the next, the woman who can hold more, who has a higher threshold for being more visible, for being the difficult woman. It's not in our heads. It's a full embodied ritual. It's a soul and mythic journey. So if you're on this threshold right now, please don't push it. Don't try to get to the good bit already. Don't try to hack your way through, because you really can't if it's going to be done properly and last. So mark it with a candle, a breath, a letter to yourself, a meal, a toast, a witness, with silence, with a circle of sisters, with a knowing look from someone who sees you and knows where you're at. Because when you mark the crossing, you don't just change. You don't just test yourself. You become. So, love, if you are really feeling this, there's a couple of ways I can call you forwards to work with me more deeply through rites of passage, through ritual, through these thresholds. If you're called to be part of reclaiming rites of passage and giving back the wisdom, holding, and support to girls, to be the wise woman that I know I certainly needed, and maybe you did too, when you were 9, 10, 11, 12. The First Moon Circle Facilitator Training is closing enrollments for its 2026 round on Friday, the 13th of March, the day of the Divine Feminine. I'll pop in the show notes how you can come and find out more about this, but you can go to firstmooncircleschool.com/training to get all of the information, find your way to the application form, and discover the full professional practitioner level training that I lead. If you're standing at your own deeper threshold, then the Inanna journey is coming soon. This is for women who are in their own becoming of your next level. If you know that parts of you are looking outside for power, for validation, if you're in this wobble, if there's a lack of clarity about who you're here and what you're truly here to lead in this lifetime, at this moment in your work, about your medicine, if there's a hesitation that you feel and you know that you're just on the edge of an expansion and you'd love some holding to get there, then this Inanna journey will be held online. So wherever you are in the world, you'll be able to come and join us. It's going to be about 4 months long, and it's the online temple version of an in-person journey I ran last year. However, this is specifically for women who lead. I'll put information in the show notes below about how you can pop your name to express your interest. I'm going to be putting up some information about this really soon and opening up places to be filled. So it's going to begin around April time. And I'm very excited about this because we need this holding. This is the rite of passage and threshold that for women who are leading, we just don't have. And I'm here to hold you in your descent in your laying down of whatever's holding you back. And so you can claim your power, your wisdom, your magic, your authority in your leadership. These are both about really honoring the same thing, honoring the crossing, being in a place of leadership, someone who is walking and holding the rites and truly becoming who you are already here to be. So I hope this is medicine for you. It certainly has been for me. Until next time, my love, may you trust the wisdom of the cycles, listen to your soul knowing, and bring a moment of ritual to honor whatever threshold you are standing at in your life and in your leadership. Blessed be. Thank you so much for listening, my love, to Wildflow Podcast. If you found medicine in this episode, please share it on socials and leave a review. If you are a sacred space holder, a coach, a priestess, a healer, come and take the free quiz now to discover your sacred feminine leadership dial. Understand your frequencies is magic and medicine for your soul client, and how to work with your leadership edge so that you can show up in your sacred authority and create the business that holds you so you don't have to hold it all. Until next time, my love, stay devoted to your body and your spirit as sacred guide as you share your unique medicine in this world.